back to Brandon Sanderfans with Ben and
I ruined it. I ruined it. Try it again. Do it again.
And he ruined it, like he always does, Samuel Luce.
Hey! Well, now I just feel bad. I don't ruin everything. That's not true. I ruin a lot of things.
No, you don't always ruin it. And you didn't ruin it all, Sam. Part of the intro is that, you never get it right. That's our brand now.
Well, I'm just glad. Welcome to Brandon Sanderfans with Spam and Ben. That's what I would have said, but I didn't, because I didn't open. I would have ruined it. Ben's right.
Next time I'm going to be like, welcome to Brandon Sanderfans with Ben and Sandra Day O'Connor. How are you doing, Sandra Day?
I died in the 90s. That's what I'll say.
I don't know if that's factually true, but, it works for the bit, so I'll keep it in.
I was trying to go, you commit to a bit. That's the phrase. You commit to the bit.
You commit to the bit. Well, Sam, I read a book. Did you read a book?
I did. I very much enjoyed it, too.
Mm-hmm. We read Mistborn chapters 1, 2, and 3. Here to talk about it a little bit. Basically, this is the beginning, kind of setting the table for all the characters that we're going to see in, this book and many books to come. Specifically, we see for the first time Vin, or Von, if you're being proper.
Vin.
Vin. Vin.
Also,
like that?
Yeah, like that. Also, Sandra Day O'Connor's still alive, I think. So I apologize for spreading a death rumor.
If she dies before this comes out, it's your fault, right?
I do. So this is what I did not know about Mistborn the first time I read it through. One, I did not know French at the time, but it was back in 2000 and I think 13 or 14. That's when you, Ben, you told me that Brandon Sanderson himself said that it's French, the French characters.
Yeah, we were at a signing and someone asked a question like, hey, can you give us a brief summary on like what your cultures are based off of? He's like, yeah, well, Mistborn or Scadrial is mostly French, so a lot of the names in there are French inspired. Cell is based on this and that. Stormlight Archive is based on parallelism or symmetry. Symmetry is wholly in the Stormlight Archive, or at least for the Vorin religion. He's let slip that a lot of the names are French inspired, or they are French names. So Kelsier is, if you wanted to be factual and true about it, would be more like Kelsier, and Vin is like
Just let it go through your schnoz. Let it go through your schnoz. That's it.
For purposes, he also let us know that there is no wrong pronunciation because the books, when we read them, however we read them, is how they are. They come alive for us once again. So there's really no proper pronunciation that he's going to give out. There is like a super vocal contingency of the community, of the Sanderfan community, where they're like super anal about pronunciation. I'm never going to be that way. I think it's stupid to argue about pronunciation, especially when the creator says that there's no set pronunciation for his books. So
it's like you can't get any more specific about that. He's like, hey, do you know what's cool about imagination? You do whatever the heck you want, and you just go with it. Everyone needs to calm down.
Did you know that when someone, in a different language reads this book, it's not pronounced the same either? Crazy, huh?
Welcome to Earth, and then he punches you in the face.
Then he kicks you King Leonidas style into a pit.
So, what was I going to say? Okay, so we read Ben and I read the first 3 chapters of Mistborn. Mm-hmm. We already read the prologue, which that's where we meet Kelsier.
We talked about that last time. If you didn't listen to that episode, it's in the feed. Go ahead and listen back.
So the chapters 1 through 3, it's a lot of setting up of things. It's also a lot of this is what I love about Brandon Sanderson. The way he describes things is so it's short. But I feel like it's so vivid, I don't need to reread it to completely understand what he described. He describes the ash on the buildings, and I'm like, oh, I see it, dude. I can feel it. I I can feel it on my face and on my coat. I can totally feel it. He describes, Vin's hiding place. He describes the bar. He describes what is it? The canton? Not the canton. Where was it? When Cameron and Vin went to meet with...
Oh, the Canton of Finance.
No, it was a canton. Yeah, when he described the Canton of Finance, it was just so brief, but I completely understood it. His world building is
Sam,
so quick, and I love it.
How do you say Canton of Finance in French?
That is... Canton de Finance.
Oh, that was... I hated that. Yeah. Sam, I know we just talked about there's no bad way to pronounce these things, but
that was pretty bad.
I may need to amend that.
Hey guys, remember how I ruin everything? No, I don't know how to. I cannot think of Canton of Finance. I mean, financier, canton.
Is canton a French word at all?
If it is, it's not one that I'm familiar with.
Oh, maybe like an old-time French word. We'll figure it out later. Someone's going to yell at us later. Anyway, getting into, and you were describing, hey, so Brandon, kind of his MO for describing things is to give some broad strokes and describe, how it's perceived by the character.
Yeah.
But also, I think more than that, he describes how the atmosphere affects the character, and I think that's what really colors it in. So some writers, J.R.R. Tolkien, Robert Jordan even, will spend the time to give you lots of details, histories, lots of in-depth knowledge about why something looks the way it does and exactly how it looks, how the symbol is reflected, and how it's give you a lot of information all at once. Brandon doesn't really do that. He does some broad strokes, lets your imagination take over, but more than that, he's concerned with how the atmosphere, how the environment, how everything looks and feels affects the characters and feels real to them.
Right, and that makes it so much more enjoyable to me personally. I do have friends who are like, oh, I love the long-windedness of Tolkien, and I love every little minute detail and grand detail that he gives for 48 pages. I can't do that.
And that's there if you want it. Those books are out there, and a lot of fantasy is written that way. I think one reason why Brandon Sanderson's have had a lot of success, and which is why he's one of my favorite writers, is because he appreciates your attention and your time. And he will give details like that over time. He'll explain how things work and how things go, but he very rarely ever does it in a big, large chunk. It's usually doled out over time so that you get some here, but you get more characters, more conversations, more action scenes, so that you aren't like stuck. Oh, this is the chapter where I'm going to learn all about how this village works, how it looks, how idyllic it is, and how beautiful, and then, oh, wait, we just left it in the next chapter. Okay, never mind.
Well, I didn't like it anyway. Screw that.
Screw that. I'm glad it burned down.
Oh, shoot. What was I going to say about world building? I don't remember. There was... several moments while reading these 3 chapters that I remembered how I felt when I first read it, and as I mentioned, that was 7 or 8 years ago. But I still remember when introduced to Vin, I immediately thought like, oh heck yes, we have a female lead. It's going to be like a Tarantino film, but not sad and not just like
and not Uma Thurman.
No, thank goodness it's not Uma Thurman. I could not stand Uma Thurman as Vin. Oh jeez, she'd be taller than everyone on set, and they'd have to have just like her in like a ditch the entire time.
We'll have to figure out who Uma Thurman can be. Maybe she can be like the Lord Ruler or something.
Or Sazed. How about she's just Sazed?
She's just all the tall characters are played by Uma Thurman. She's a true chameleon of the cinema.
I don't know if chameleon's the right word. More like giraffe. So there was one thing that stood out to me specifically. When Kelsier and Doxson go and talk to Vin, and he pushes Cameron around, and then he's like, "Everybody leave! Everybody move!" Mm-hmm. He's talking to Vin, and it's just like I feel like every other sentence, or at least every other starting paragraph, is Kelsier smiled, and he smiled. He said this with a smile. And I remember reading it the first time, and I thought that was so annoying. But this time I had a better appreciation for it because uh, reading in the prologue and how everyone's like, he's always smiling. How do you smile like that? It's just it's his character. Obviously, it's his character, but it's who Kelsier is as a person. And I
Yeah.
can't be mad at someone for smiling. I can't be mad at someone for, like going through what they went through, surviving what they did, and still finding a way to smile. I can't be mad at that. I'm not some sort of. I'm not heartless. If he's smiling, and I thought it was very, very cool to read it as many times as I did. The second time around, seeing how much he smiled. It's such a little thing, but it shows so much about who Kelsier is and about what he's trying to do, as with his personality as well as with his powers. If that makes sense. Yeah,
Exactly.
that makes sense,
Yeah. Well, he is at the end of the day, he's a grifter. He is a thief. He's going to kind of sell and play up things, and that's the smile's part of it. It's part of
yeah.
him. He's trying to sell to the Ska hope. He's trying to sell them and grift them into believing once again, even if he doesn't, or even if he does, deep down. So yeah, he's trying to do something that can't be done without them and without them believing. So he projects that. He gives them what they should see and what they need to progress. So yeah, I'm completely into it. You get a good sketch of who Vin is at the beginning here. You understand the kind of the depths of the depravity that she's in. She's the girl that has to meet out and figure out when and where she can get her beatings, because she's going to get beat on by other people. She just needs to figure out when that's going to happen so that she can take it and then just survive and endure it more. She is like Kelsier is the survivor of Hath Sin. She is the
Yeah.
survivor of this underground, like a lot of the Ska are. And she's kind of like ground zero for what Kelsier is trying to do with these Ska, elevate them and get them to believe. That's what she's trying to do as well, or that's
This
what he's
reminded
trying to do for her.
Yeah, and this reminded me a little bit of in Inception when Leonardo DiCaprio is looking for, I think a world builder. I think anyway, and he goes and finds Ellen Page, and he sits her down and he's like, "Draw me this maze." It reminded me a little bit of that because we have Leonardo DiCaprio, someone who's very experienced in this field and who is running from the law, and who is has a dark past and has survived things and then we have, Ellen Page, who is very intelligent. She's not in the same situation as Vin in any way, shape, or form. She's just a student. But having one character such as Leonardo DiCaprio or Kelsier come in and become a teacher, become a tutor, become a. I have a hard time doing podcasts because I lose words, but I have these ideas. I just got these ideas, man. They're in my head. But you see what I'm pointing at. You see what I'm aiming at is that there's the teacher and the student, and at least in this case, we see over the books the student supersedes, overtakes the teacher, but not in like a negative, like I have your power now kind of way. More just like he takes the baseline of what they're taught and then expounds on it. And this little moment between Kelsier and Vin, when Kelsier's like, "Okay, drink this vial," and then she's like, "You drink half of it," and he's like, "Oh, you da 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 da," and he takes half of it, and then she takes half of it, and then she's able to
make
push
sure
and
you
pull on
shake it
feeling.
up so you get some of the sediment from the bottom. Like
Yes, exactly.
she's not
And
taking any chances. Yeah.
Yeah, and having her push and pull on his feelings, it was a moment where he was able to unlock more potential in her that she didn't understand, and he's just like, "Perfect, we got it, let's do this." And then they start planning the heist. I don't remember where I was going with that, which makes me really mad. But it was it was so much more entertaining the second time around. Yeah, I've already read it or whatever, but it was cool to see just that tiny dynamic between the two and notice it more intimately between the two, because Kelsier knows that she's something special. That she's got that good gift.
Exactly. But and even before that, like you see her kind of, she's distinguishing herself within in the ranks. Cayman always has to have her nearby, even though Cayman's like a total jerk and beats her. And like she is, almost about to leave when Cayman hears that she's betrayed by another member of the crew that she trusted, and she's constantly having her brother's her brother's words in her head saying, "Don't trust anyone, don't believe anything, don't everyone will betray you." And so this guy coming in, kind of selling her on these new powers, and smiling all the time like a real snake oil salesman. It's going to be tough for her to kind of get over that too, and to trust other people. But yeah, Vin's a really interesting character. When I can't remember where I read it, I'm pretty sure it's in the annotations of Mistborn. But Vin originally was a boy, but pretty much gender neutral. Like the character of Vin, whether Vin is a boy or Vin is a girl, Vin is Vin. Which I think is a really interesting way. A lot of fantasy writers have difficulties writing female characters, or it's a criticism that's levied a lot against fantasy writers. I wouldn't say that every fantasy writer has the issue, but they have the issue a lot because a lot of fantasy writers are dudes and they don't know. They always think that there's something different going on underneath a woman's head, or they even build into their universes sometimes different, hierarchies that the women have to supersede or be in a different position, almost so that they're alien from men altogether. But in Brandon Sanderson books, by and large, barring the Stormlight Archive, which is very, very interesting what he does with gender there, he has the ability to pick a character and write a character and not assign too much value to their gender. It's part of who they are. It
Yes.
changes the pronouns. It changes who they maybe hang out with more when they're kids and who they hang out with when they're adults, and kind of how they develop. But he has the ability to make sure that their personality is not different, or I wouldn't say like majorly changed by their gender. And I think that a lot of readers appreciate that because women are people too. I don't know why that's so hard to see, but it is kind of difficult sometimes for some writers to write that way.
No, you're absolutely right, and you that was so well put that Vin is a girl, but and even looking at the cover right now, it's just like I understand that Vin's a girl, but I don't look at her and be like, like I can't believe a girl did this. It's just like no, she had these powers, and yes, she's a she, but that doesn't make it any less or any more important that she has these powers. She has these powers, and she is a hero, and that's what's important.
That's pretty much what happens in chapters 1 through 3. They kind of grift on some obligators. They get screwed over, but Kelsier saves the day and runs off all the ministry officials. They kill like 3 of them. I think is like there's a dead body count already of ministry officials just like that were following Cayman back, and it's just like we took care of them. They're dead.
We should probably keep a tally of murder.
You know what? Just by the plantation and the prologue, we've already lost track. there is numberless amounts of murder that Kelsier has already done and will continue to do.
Oh man, that was actually one of the questions I thought about asking you. It's just like, but at the same time, it's so it's superfluous. I think superfluous is the right word. Mm-hmm. It's just like how can Kelsier say that he's a man of the people and say that he's trying to instill hope, yet murder all these people? Whatever. I mean, that's just like
there's something to that, and when they start talking about snapping, I'd like to have that conversation a little bit. I think that snapping is something that happens when you learn that you have allomancy, and it changes you. I think that it changed Kelsier in a very specific way, and I think there's some interesting conversation there. But for chapters 1 through 3, I think that's where we're going to cut it off, and then we're going to get right into meeting some of my favorite characters in the entirety of Brandon Sanderson's books. We're going to meet Breeze. We're going to meet Hammond. We're going to meet Clubs. It's going to be great. So, and also Vin is going to learn a little bit more. What's his face? Oh, yeah, Marsh. And it's, Marsh is great.
Yes. Not who I was talking about, but Marsh is good too.
Dude, Marsh is the beast. When we're done talking about all these books, like all of you are going to be sold on how amazing and beastie Marsh is. He's the best.
I know. He's just he's a hunk. I can say it. He's a hunk. Well, let's
He's
so
Kelsier's brother, so he's like got Kelsier's face, but he's like all broody. He's like, oh man, they're like anime brothers. Like you got like the
oh
you got
no,
like the funny anime brother, and you got the broody anime brother.
you ruined it. I don't like it anymore.
All right, so
Well, let's okay. 1 through 3, good setup. Very excited. Now we're gonna do a little segment that we did in the very first episode called "Making Magic."
yeah. So we're gonna make some magic. Gonna take a random noun. We got a random noun generator, and then we're gonna make a magic system out of that. So this is to help Brandon. If you're listening, this is to help you. I know you're a very busy man. Maybe you could use this in a future book. Save yourself some time. So we're gonna go ahead and generate it and see how it works. Okay, just loading. Okay, the random noun is eel. Sam, how does eel magic work? So, what are the properties of eels? They're slippery, they're scary, they're electric.
They're long.
They're long. So
They're very
maybe
long.
this isn't like a good magic. Maybe this is kind of like a dark magic. Right? Because
Okay.
eels
So
are kind of like slippery and slimy, you live in dark tunnels and stuff.
So one of the things that eels are used for magic is that you just get a bunch of them, and then you have a command word. Or you snap your fingers, and then they all wrap around your limbs.
Oh.
And then you could charge into like a bank or something.
Yeah, and I'm
just
shooting you with a Gatling gun, but each of these eels are taking the shot instead of you.
Yeah, and these eels are thick. I don't know if people know this, but the inside of eels is just like really thick bacon.
Yeah,
it's just like so much bacon.
It's really thick bacon that smells like stink water.
Stink water and sadness, and they take all the bullets. But then like you can like whip your arm, and it'll come off your arm, and it'll be like 30 feet long, and just whip them in the face, and you can make it electric so that it shocks them while you're doing it.
So
and another one, you could take the eels, and then you just like. This sounds like a 4-year-old who's so excited about something he thought of.
Yeah,
you take an eel and you slide your arm right into its mouth, all the way in.
Yeah,
and then you have eel arms. And there's nothing special about that. You just have eel arms.
Ooh, maybe you can swim a lot faster with eel arms, but the eels have to learn how to swim backwards. So you have to like train them how to swim backwards also while they're ingesting your entire arm.
And in this universe, if you eat eel, so if you eat eel raw, you gain like eel powers. Like you get that skin, that icky.
Ooh, yeah, the icky
slimy
skin, the gross, the stink water skin.
Stinkwater skin, yeah. But if you cook it, you get nothing. You just eat like really thick stink water bacon, and it's not really anything special.
Gotcha. So you gotta
But
eat it raw.
it takes some chutzpah to eat it raw. Let me tell you what.
So maybe like the good magic in this system is based around smell, because they have to smell that stinky stink water and like smell for assassins, smell for like people like in the sewers coming after them with their stink eel magic. So yeah, like that's. You got to be able to mask that stuff. So you got to like find poultices and stuff and perfumes to try to protect yourself. You're like, no, I am just a very large man. I am not a man with 40 eels wrapped around me.
Yes, I do smell very good. Thank you so much. It's
Thank
a new
you.
perfume called Eel Attack. And they attack him with an eel.
Eel strangle. Eel jab.
Ah! Eel jab.
Okay, I just before we get off the eel magic, I want to go in an opposite direction. Something that maybe not everyone is trying this in this eel magic world.
Okay.
And it's that person can take a chain of eels. They fuse them together, big long chain.
Okay.
And then that chain of eels is attached to their spine, and everything, water everywhere, ocean. They're in the ocean, and like a dolphin, like they're swimming on this tail of eels, but like the tail of eels is literally like 80 feet tall. So they're like 80 feet up in the air, like 8 stories high, just on this stack of eels. You know what I'm talking about? You understand?
I do.
Yeah.
Yep,
and then you can catch birds that way. You sell the birds, you get the money. Step 4, profit? Question mark.
I didn't know where that was going. I was really... The payoff was what I needed. I needed that.
So
Hey,
that's how eel magic
Brandon
works.
Sanderson.
Yeah,
Brandon Sanderson, that's for you.
that's for you.
You can have it. Just use it.
That's all
it's
you.
free.
And we just ask if you use it, make sure that they sell the birds for money. I think that's where we're going to end today's episode.
Wait. Sell the birds for money, and you gotta really... I need a good description of that stink water. I need you to just describe it real good for me.
Yeah, like someone that's
man.
a super smeller smells that stink water and it makes them pass out, but I want to know exactly what they smell before they fall asleep. Like I want smell-o-vision through this book. I want scratch and sniff letters printed in this book.
Like there's one that says, he masked the eel's scent with pizza, and you scratch pizza, and it smells really good. But then you scratch the comma after pizza, and it smells like sardines. And you're like, uh-oh, we're getting close to that stink water smell.
Oh yeah, maybe it's a sardine pizza. Okay, like that's maybe some people like that in that world. But then what if random words oh, it smelled like creme brulee, and you scratch creme brulee, stink water. Like it's like he's sneaking it in on you. Because the creme brulee didn't mask it, and you should have read ahead before you smelled the creme brulee, because it didn't smell like creme brulee, it smelled like stink water.
And now you have to go to page 46, where you're attacked by eels, and you have to start the whole role-playing adventure over again. Page 1.
Yeah,
because I assume this eel magic book's, RPG.
It's like a choose your own adventure, like R.L. Stein, you get the Yeti, and then you have to go back and reread it to get the good ending instead.
Oh, Brandon Sanderson, please take... I don't want to deal with these eels anymore. Just take this magic system,
Just
please.
take these stink water eels away from me. I bought too many of them.
And I've sold so many birds. I don't need any more money.
I mean, they're all fused together and attached to my spine, but please take them away from me.
Oh my goodness. Yep. And with that money he got for making all those movies, he could afford it, man. He's good.
Yeah, hopefully he gets to make all those movies to get all that money. Oh, did you know? This is a fun fact before we finish here. Brandon Sanderson has a caveat in all of his movie deals to have a cameo in his movies. So he will be in any movie that he makes, like Stanley style. Like, I told them it's magic time, and then he's gone.
So I thought he was gonna be Hoyd because he's in everyone. So
oh yeah, there you go. There you go. That'd be pretty meta, but I don't know.
Painfully meta, if you will. Hey guys, thank you so much for listening to Brandon Sanderfans with Ben and Sam. It's always a pleasure to have you with us. To have your ears with us.
We really appreciate it. I hope this warm ear biscuit helps you get through the day and through your week. And thank you so much for listening. We're really happy to do this for you. And as always, read a book.
Read a book.